brings me down. Yeah. Right. Enough with the music. More of those drafts. Wei still playing for BLG. No Shun to be seen today. Wei, it does seem to be, is the player which BLG are at least giving some decent stage time to see whether he can be the silver problem fix for some of their issues that they've been coming up against recently. Get ourselves a switch to the sides again. Both teams have won on blue sides so far. We have Renekton, Rumble, Tristana all left available, so one of them will make it through the draft. With the Kennen gone as well, that removes one of Bin's options in terms of lane dominance in that top lane. So, what's going to make it through the ban phase? Weibo. They know that they have to ban out one of the big champions. What are they going to give up for it? Stuff like Ashe, Leona too, also going to be available. So Ashe, Renekton, Leona. Lots of big champions still up and available. So Weibo, they're going to get a first pick of one of them. BLG might just respond with 2 power picks of their own. You can overload the draft. They do ban away that Tristana. I think that's the expected one. That champion is not fair right now. But do you have to take away one of these last remaining picks? That Rumble, of course, banned away by Weibo, not available as well. Does leave that Renekton as a blind pick in that top side. Breathe. I've seen a lot of criticism for this player, and I think a lot of it is warranted, but I do think that on the whole, I was a bit of a Breathe believer. He has been the worst top laner than Bin by far today. I think Bin has taken him to task. I still think that Breathe has been an important part of this team's identity going forwards into this split, but that doesn't mean he hasn't been taken out to the dumpster by Bin in this series today. The Renekton can be a bit of a stopgap measure for that, because the Renekton is something which is quite easy to blind pick and can get very good laning value. It means that even better laning players can't necessarily get under your skin in the same way. Knight goes towards the Corki. It's not necessarily been his best pick, and it's not the Yone which we've seen from him in both games this series so far, as we move through into our further picks of the draft. Zyra locked in for Wei. So again, that has been one of the real big picks. No Brand to be seen today. No Brand to be seen. More Lilia. Of course, the Nidalee coming out from Tarzan as well to push the early matchup. Wouldn't surprise me to see Tarzan going back towards that Lilia. Again, Brand can sometimes struggle versus higher range comps like the Zyra and the Corki. And you already have a lot of CC now coming through from both the Renekton in the pick variety and the Yone in terms of that team fight variety as well. So maybe we're looking towards something like the Yone and then the Lilia lock-in as well. It was always a combo way back in the past. 2020 was the era of Yone and Lilia as well. It was very powerful duo back then. I believe it was back in 2020. Was Yone released? God, I can't remember if Yone was released then. But when Yone was first on release, we saw stuff like that. It was the Yasuo Diana and the Yone Lilia, which put together. We did say about this champion not really rearing his head so far. Tarzan, arguably best Brand in the LPL. This guy is super clean on his mechanics, so he will pick it up. I'm somewhat surprised to see the Lilia priority drop, given the presence of it in the LPL recently, but Tarzan going back to the old faithful of that Brand in the jungle from this split at least. Came back into the league in summer after taking a break in spring, and he has been absolutely absurd.
It took him a while to get there, though, I think it's fair to say. I'm glad to be back. I hope you said interesting things. Did you say interesting things?
I think I did, Sam. I think I did. We have the Renekton Gnar matchup again in this top
Oh.
side, so that's going to be Bin going towards another lane dominant matchup for himself. Breathe. The first pick Renekton, I think what it is doing is covering a bad player matchup. Now, normally I would say you need to get so far ahead on the Renekton that it doesn't matter. I think Weibo, as long as Breathe is not getting torn a new one by Bin, is probably a win for them at this point. I think that Breathe has been good for Weibo in a lot of their series, but when he's come up against Bin here today, it is Bin. I do think that Bin is still the best top laner within the LPL, and I think it has shown today.
It has, and I think last game we saw significant leads that kind of happened off screen. Was down 3,000 gold individually, had taken the exhaust for the team fights that never really happened because the laning phase was so comprehensively blown out by BLG. Wei's back on the Zyra, staying in again. They've got themselves solid team fight core already, really. On the other side, though, Brand, Yone, Renekton, hardly slouches in that department either. It is a bit more about that team fight from Weibo again. ED carries currently the focus in this second phase of bans.
Have been for all of our drafts
It's
today.
very true.
Yeah.
Like, we're not seeing AD carries early at the minute.
I think one of the key things in any draft, over whatever meta is, which roles are the things which are the power picks in them? Which are the ones which you can blind pick? Because we're seeing right now when Renekton and Rumble are up, you blind pick them, because Sanze can also be in that too, and I think the Cannon can occasionally be as well. So top lane you can blind pick, which is weird, because top lane has always been the counter pick.
Counters, yeah.
And so typically the counter picks can win you the game. Hasn't necessarily been as prominent in this meta. Junglers can be blind picked. I think mid laners with the AD carries now can also be blind picked, which means that often you get them blind picked, and you get then much more interesting, weirdly, bot lanes coming through. So many AD carry bans, and finally we might see ourselves an Ezreal being picked.
Ezreal is not picked, it's the Kalista. Elkanon, angry after game 1, came into game 2 and earned himself MVP after a storming Alistair game, but now they got themselves the Kalista. I wonder whether they'll look for a Renata after this as well. What do Light and Crisp have to play with?
We have just ignored Ezreal for like this entire series. What happened? This champion's so good, it's just not going to be locked in.
Just doesn't knife fight well, apparently.
I mean, you could potentially. I mean, if you want to take away the Draven, the Renata, you could go for like Draven Renata if you wanted to, but they go towards the Rel. Now, what do you lock in alongside this? Kai'Sa is available. You could go Ziggs if you wanted, but against the Kalista, you want something which can survive that level 1. I'm somewhat surprised at that Rel coming through. You need to pick something which can safely farm now as the AD carry. I mean, I'd love to see it. I've seen... Neela was one thing that they played before as well, back in spring. That was fun. But I doubt that one's going to come through. And they are going towards that Ziggs hover. Are they locking it in? Okay, all right. Light on the Ziggs. Now, the Rel... Not necessarily... Yeah, it's pretty good at grouping people together for that bomb, but you are losing this bot lane. 100%. You are not getting away with the 2v2s in this game. You can see that likely the Renata coming through. BLG, when the stops come out, when they're all pulled out, typically their way to win the game and look like one of the very best teams in the world is Hyper Snowball bot lane. They are potentially the best Kalista team in the world throughout their recent history with it. They are absurdly good at snowballing this duo. The Kalista Renata with the Zyra hard clearing towards bot lane will help with that, but BLG do not have good engage. They have a Renata ult, and what their engage is, we get so far ahead of the game, you have to engage into us, or we can play so aggressively off the wave that Kalista can ult Renata into the fight, and they have so many stats that it doesn't matter. So BLG, they're looking for those early winning lanes. They have winning top lane matchup, winning bot lane matchup, and early snowball potential. Weibo, they have the combo from the gods. You have Yone going in, you have the Rel going in, the Ziggs over the top, the Brandol bouncing between everyone packed in that Rel ultimate. If they find BLG overextending or they get themselves a clumped up team fight, then they will get evaporated. They are going to be atomized. So that's what we're looking for. Early lane domination and snowball coming out from Weibo. This is an aggressive team from BLG. That is an aggressive early snowball comp. On the other side, BLG, they have... Weibo on the other side, they have themselves the big combo to make sure that they can try and really, really dunk down in the clumped up team fights, but they have to survive to get there first.
Yeah, if Weibo can tap dance their way through the early game, get themselves those team fights, they're going to be an absolute nightmare, especially if they can get into rivers first, so they don't have to get through the plants and the Renata ult and the counter engage tools that BLG do have. Then it gets tricky. On the other side, as you said, if BLG don't snowball the early game, if they're forced to snatch, to grab, gets a lot harder, but they are one of the very best teams at snowballing the early game. They did it in comprehensive fashion, textbook fashion in game 2. It was a remarkable game. To try and finish it out here in game 3 in similar fashion, let's Weibo get towards those big ticket team fight ultimates. The Rift is here for our final game of this series.
敌军还有30秒到达战场。
Super spicy. We will see that Renata was up here in the level 1 to ensure that bush control could be claimed. Well, it's only a sort of a relatively shallow ward. It's not in the middle bush. We sometimes see some decision making in terms of where that goes, but clearly aware that Wei wants to be pathing towards the bot lane, so I suspect Bin won't be hyper shoving that way.
So, again, just really hitting down on the win conditions. They start very, very early here. We might even have seen a lane swap coming through from Weibo because of the lane dominance of Kalista Renata. They're not going for that. They want to stick with standard lanes. We'll see whether that's worth it. Just the other day, we saw the TT series versus EDG try a similar kind of composition where you go for that Kalista Renata, you hard clear towards that lane, and you try and win through that early lane snowball. BLG are one of the best teams in the world at playing this style. 4 plants on the start here as well. Very, very powerful start from Zyra. Going to get down towards that bot lane at around about 2 minutes 54, finishing that clear. Tarzan has been given a leash by his bot lane. Means that you don't look for the level 1 poke from the Ziggs either onto Elkin on, that could also prove an issue. So now BLG know that they are clearing down towards this bot side with Tarzan pathing away from this bot lane. That is risky as hell from Weibo. They need to be able to survive the early levels.
They know Zyra was on Krug's Breathe, put that ward down, so they have an idea about what the pathing timings will be like. Crisp and Light needs to be a bit afraid. Of course, Light with the teleport can afford to go for a slightly impromptu back should they need to. Come back with more HP, come back with that ability to maybe trade out the wave, having burned some of those stats early on, some of those resources rather, like the mana, to really ensure that dive isn't a realistic possibility from BLG.
So, again, all eyes on how quick Wei can get down towards that bot side. Of course, the new jungler for BLG. The way that BLG played before in this style, it was with Shun clearing towards bot side and getting those level 3 dives on bot lane. See that Light and Chris, they are going to be able to hit level 2 off of this wave. They are going to be down to the level 3 potentially to BLG. On doing his best to try and deny some XP from this, and Wei will be starting to finish off his last camps just about. Now, Weber should surely know that this is coming. Are they going to have enough? Light doesn't have a combat summoner. He's taking that teleport. It can help in terms of getting back to the wave if you die in that dive. He's made it down towards this bot side now very, very quickly. BLG, this is the plan. This was always the plan. Light and Crisp, level 2. They're trimming the wave slightly, but they have 0 damage on Elkin on. This is going to be disastrous.
This could get very tricky. I don't think Light's got a satchel yet either, so he's in a dangerous position. Actually has got it now. Takes so much damage. Immediately burns down on. Traded back. So it's a 1-for-1. Crisp still under the turret. Is mounted up. Could crash down whoever takes the aggro. Goes down as
Wait, they could dive again! They could dive again!
And the teleport so late is straight into a grasping roots. Light flashes now, but they must try and get something more. Brand has killed Gnar on the other side of the rift. It's a 2-for-2 game right now. A satchel charge back forces the flash out from Wei, but it's not enough. Will not take another turret shot. And 3 kills in the bot lane because Light teleports back in to immediately die, and that wave is still lost.
I didn't know you could have the direst treatment as a Ziggs bot lane. He teleports in to immediately die, so it is 3 deaths in the bot lane. For Weibo, BLG, this was the game plan. Tarzan was pathing towards topside. Was it worth it, Tarzan? Was it worth it to leave your bot lane out to drive with the most obvious dive comp in the history of the dives in that early game coming through? He's going to go towards topside again, trying to snowball top lane in response to bot lane.
Look to try and respond on that one. They need to get the stun. Bin still has that teleport, that flash rather. On splashed on up as well. Look for the handshake in the loyalty program. Tarzan taken low with the ignite. Bin nearly at Mega Gnar. It's a disaster in 2 parts. Bot lane was episode 1. Welcome to episode 2. Attack at the top lane.
Weibo will need to see if they can get themselves on a revenge of the mid at this point. If they could try and get something in the last lane to be featured in this saga. BLG, this early game has been everything they wanted. They have the tools to roam across the map. Now they have won bot lane so hard. On can go wherever he wants. Breathe, left alone in topside. He got gifted that gank early, and he is now left to the wolves. No flash, Wei here.
Try and clear up the wave best he can. Will get nothing done. Bin gets that one, and suddenly you got 2 kills on the Gnar, 2 kills on the Callista, and an early game that has snowballed careening down a mountainside in favor of BLG.
We have known this about BLG. You can take this team to the edge of like their performance, and when push comes to shove, they play this Callista stock bot lane snowball comp. They have done this so many times, and this is the style which I prefer seeing BLG from. Knight looking potentially for even, again, that 3rd episode in the saga. It's a good trade back onto Xiaohu, just before that level 6 came through. BLG, 2,000 gold up in the blink of an eye. This is the dive that we missed on top side, so Bin did end up dying here. Tarzan picked up the kill. So what happened here? I'd imagine it's just a point and click Renekton stun, which it was. It was a flash committed from Breathe to do that. Full combo coming in, the passive from Brand, gets an extra tick with the red buff. And that's going to be a dead Bin on top side, but they can't capitalize. They get that 1 kill, comes back, and then suddenly Bin gets 2 kills, so he is ahead in gold despite that first gank. And this is why there is something about early game information. There is something about knowing that something is happening that doesn't change Jackal. You know that this bot lane dive is going to come, so you think, yes, but they know it's going to happen, so they're going to make a counterplay. Yes, but being punched in the face and knowing it's going to happen doesn't stop you getting punched in the face. So Tarzan not passing towards this bot side and not being able to cover that, to me, it's just a huge mistake. You see so many lane swaps away from this duo because of this. We saw this for so long because, like, what do you do? What do you do when this combo comes through? And BLG might just be the best team in the world consistently pulling off bot lane level 3 dives, specifically that part of the game. Like, they have faulted in other areas of the game since, but I think BLG, when they have been one of the best teams in the world, this is how they play the game.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I see what was attempted to be happening when Light teleport back in, because Crystal had the flash, still had the crash down, could have looked to catch onto the turret, but Light
I think...
Oh, man.
This is genuinely the point. Start your timers, folks. How quickly do you think this game will end? How quickly do you think this game will end? I think we could be on for a game which could be under 20 minutes being finished here from BLG. They have themselves that early pressure on the bot side. Tarzan's going to take away the grubs, which means that the time's going to take a bit longer. But how the hell do you play this game with the Ziggs who's 1.5k down individually at 7 minutes? This is destruction. Honestly, folks, place your predictions now. I actually think this game could be under 20 minutes.
We'll keep our eyes on it, especially if this is the pace it's happening. It could get very tricky indeed. Elk will claim another plate here. This is level 4. He can't even ult to clear the wave. Elk's level 6. That's a 2-level discrepancy. In bot lane, you've got you're 2/3 of the level of your opposing laner.
That is absolutely absurd. This is absolutely absurd. You very rarely see games like this coming through. In BLG, they showcase exactly how to make this work. Leads in every single lane. You have a 2,000 almost gold lead coming through from Elk as well. The only thing which is missing is all of those plates. BLG would need to take that one through. The grubs on the top side being taken by Weibo do give them some solace, because it means that even though they're against winning lanes, it could be worse. They could be killing turrets even quicker.
Could be. 3,000 gold down at this point of the game is a very scary thing indeed. Some resets come on through, but that is now a Vamp Scepter, a Pickaxe. They've got another dagger in there. You're nearly at that blade's not miles away.
Folks, I found the quickest game in the LPL of this year so far. It was in the group stage and the placement stage of this split. And it was 21:50, and that was Rare Atom versus Top Esports. So 21:50 to beat. Current huge lead for BLG. Now we need to see them get these turrets down and start getting those plates. But I think they could genuinely start forcing players with the Renata ult as soon as it's not even unlocked yet for On, but we'll see exactly how that comes through. Way with another. Oh, that's not a good start.
Wow.
Good damage coming through there. BLG continue to roll across the map.
Flame goes wide. Was the Raptor secured by Tarzan at the very least? Continuing to step on forward and be as dangerous as they can. I will note that Tarzan's level 8 to Wade's level 6, because Tarzan has managed to claim up that additional jungle farm, I guess, must be, looking at that, yeah. A lot of lane farm that Wei has claimed, despite the CS being relative, actually being down 20 CS. I just misread it on the glare on my screen. Shit. I was like, that feels like a big discrepancy for both of them at 80. I was like, no, that's a 6, Sam. Can't read.
Yeah, and the thing is, though, it's still even in gold. At least Tarzan gets something. That might be the saving grace of Wei, but we're talking about how still lane dominant this Callisto and Arda being and how they can work through it. Tarzan is the hope. Bin has flash. It's going to be a full combo.
Big chunk there onto Bin, who's being burned down. Tarzan wants to get the Pyroclasm and some burns coming on down. Bin gets towards Meganar and knows he's dead, so we'll leave the wave to die and get on out of here as White Light finally at level 6 starts to sit in the middle of his 2 towers to try and throw an ult out like this.
Yeah, he has to use his ult to wave clear. This is already disastrous. The thing, BLG not being able to take through all of these plates is, yeah, it does slow down the game a little bit. So maybe we pull the trigger a little bit early on that. But, you know, Light is getting 0 XP. And you know what? I will take a lead on I'll take the Callista being so godly far ahead, because she's one of the best snowballing champions in the game, compared to, you know, some gold over onto the Renekton. I guess the big thing is that you got 2 kills on the Bran. Bran can do godlike things. That's the one thing. So we'll have to see whether Bran, with the Leandries now, can do, you know, Milky Way / Tarzan things on this champion and turn things around. But, you know, that's an ult used for Light. You don't have an ult every wave. 10 minutes. Solo tower taken by Elk, and he's going to start roaming across the map. This is a huge bloody issue. What do you do now? He's going. You have changed the demon for 10 minutes only. The demoness has been in bot lane for 10 minutes and now is across the map. What do you do about the Callista?
Yeah, Light's being sent to mid lane to pray he can hold on better there. And in fairness, Ziggs is normally pretty good at that, but already the resets are coming on through. Wei is here with On. We've got 20 seconds until Grub's Mark II spawn. BLG can get a hold of those. That will help with the pace of taking some of these additional plates.
Yeah, so again, now we are seeing the Callista unlocked onto the map. Light finally gets himself a waiver farm in that mid lane, but Weibo, they need to find themselves somehow to kind of capitalize on this. They're not going to be able to get these grubs because Callista is on the top side now, and you do not fight around this Callista. Blade of the Ruin King in 11 minutes with an extra set of boots and recurve bow. The attack speed from Callista is mobility as well, and it is very, very painful. Bin going to continue to walk up and chunk down this tower as best they can. Grubs being started, checked out by Weibo briefly. On forced the flash out of Tarzan. I think the flash on Tarzan more important than On because he has a Callista ultimate.
He's actually a Pokemon this game. Renata, I choose you, says Ult when he presses the R button. Pokerogue haunts us even in the real Rift has been maybe at Mego, waiting to really charge up his passive as Tarzan slowed down early on. He's knocked up by the Strangle Thorns and forced to back away on about half HP.
They're not even allowed to walk into their own jungle. They are penned in. This is a penitentiary now. As a BLG, they are the prison wardens of Weibo. The first game was so good from them when they got that early lead. Both of these teams, I think, we have been showcased here that they are very good when they get to play aggressive. BLG did that right from minute one, and Weibo, they tried to answer on the top side of the map, but it just wasn't the answer. Now BLG again continuing this huge gold lead coming up for them. Not getting traded a little bit harder than he wanted to by Xiaohu, but he's still completely fine. He has good sustain here as well from just his fleet footwork and that absorbed life.
Yone with his own fleet footwork and a Vamp Scepter might be healing up a little bit more regularly. Still has the ultimate to threaten if people get scared. As Light at level 7 needs to be afraid. Flashed away from the grasping root, stays alive.
He just can't do anything. Light has been look. I don't even think this is Light's fault. Oh, okay. Half of it's his fault for teleporting under the turret. But even the fact that he died in that first place and was forced into that lane state wasn't his fault. He was never having jungle coverage. I think Tarzan made the mistake with that early pathing. I've normally praised Tarzan's early pathing. Crisp is over the wall now. Maybe can get himself a flank. But Elk is so strong. You should not be going for this. I think Elk can potentially just teamfight this himself.
Oh, they missed the juggle away because he was satcheled out of the Shattering Strike. Bad combo from him and Crisp there to make that one happen. Elk just pops around. The plants are still there. Fate sealed over the wall. Xiaohu's slowed but not dead for now. And BLG just get everything.
Elk uses the Kalista ultimate to bring the Renata out of the picture so you can't get the brand bounce. That was insane by Elk, using the Kalista ult to make sure that the brand couldn't get that big passive team fight which Weibo have almost certainly been waiting for. And BLG, this Kalista is off again. Watch this again in how this works. So on spots over the wall, they have a ward here too. He gets himself the initial pick, and yes, Wei is slightly out of position, gets satchel, but the satchel is the initial CC. There's a miscommunication there. This is the big thing here. Watch how Elk pulls the ultimate here. As soon as Tarzan starts to combo, that's the ult coming through. No bounce. A single bounce comes through, and Tarzan's not close enough to single target bounce from himself there. Really well played from Elk.
Massively well played, and now they can look towards the mid lane. Yes, you got solid enough wave there, maybe forced to ult this one. We'll see. Plates now fall. They've got themselves heralds to work with if they want to go claim that one on the rift. Crisp chunked out, Wei already hiding in one of these bushes, and Tarzan very afraid to walk up to people right now.
You can't defend anywhere, can you? You can't. The bot lane, of course, died at 10 minutes. Rest in peace. Bin's going to take this turret in topside. They have their 3 grubs now, which is going to help them with the DOT on towers. They're going to be able to hit that very, very commonly. And now, onto the Herald. I mean, Weibo, what can you do? You don't have flash on Crisp. He does have his ultimate. Got some decent damage from Tarzan, but he has his flash. His ult's coming up in 5. That might be a slim opportunity. This brand ult, the brand play is the only thing which can save Weibo in this situation.
Yeah, he will need to do some miraculous stuff. We saw Milky Way pull off a few brand games from long way behind. I note 12,000 gold lead for NIP on a Yasuo Diana comp that started to fall behind.
It did happen twice, didn't it? Versus NIP and then versus LG as well. Bin has Mega, not going to be stunned up just yet, and because that stun doesn't come through, Tarzan is pathed up tier for very little. That means that he's been pulled out of position, and Elk can get himself an extended trade onto Xiaohu potentially in the mid lane as well. Bin still Mega, Crisp on top side, on roaming about, and once again, we find Weibo not being able to land any sort of counterpunch.
Nope, not this time around. Xiaohu gets a chunk onto Elk, but then the slow afterwards with the Blade of the Ruin King. Xiaohu back to about half HP himself, and then Elk presses E.
He didn't even rend, and that was the trade coming through. He is so fed. Light is going to try and wave clear again. He has the ultimate. He'll be able to clear through one wave. I was going to be able to cancel the recall as Xiaohu spots that skill shot from the ward in the brush. There's a minefield on the turret. He might be able to just ult through this, but even just getting an auto attack on tower means that it would have died likely to the DOT. The backdoor bonus would have been taken off. So Light chooses to save the ultimate. So that's going to go down. Top lane turret's going to go down. BLG, they have just broken the entire outer ring of towers. This was where BLG in spring, this was like the killer blow. If you lost your outer ring of turrets before they did, effectively the game was over. They are so good at getting to the play at the right kind of timing. Typically that was when Knight was on the Talia or the Ahri or something like that, but just in their instincts of finding players across the map, it is a big old problem, and suddenly you've what, 7,500 gold down.
Of course, you've got a Ziggs, one of the kings of stalling, but I don't know what that's going to happen in this game. 21 minutes, was it? That was the fastest game time. I don't know if we'll quite hit that, but I still think it's going to be pretty one-sided.
Something which I've been toying with, particularly for off-season when there's less pro games being played. I wanted to go back and watch some historical games, and this is relevant because I'm somewhat enjoying and dreading the thought of going back to Season 4 and watching why Baron buff was changed to the way that it is. Because in Season 4, Ziggs wave played games, it was Ziggs and Nivea's era that was wave play for so long that you could just never stall out on his Cordax, not within the cholesterol range.
Goes down, gets a hostile takeover for a moment, but he's dead, and that's important to get something here. But they burned a couple key things for that. The flash on Crisp is notable. Knight Valkyrie away. Shadow with the increasing move speed from the Soul and Bound can maybe look to get some damage down on in here. The Shattering Strike comes on through. They get that turnaround though. The Pyroclasm after will still be a lot of damage. They will lose Crisp, but they get Knight. It's a 2-for-1 overall.
Wave's coming up, Elk's coming up, and now the Callista's here. You can't fight with the Callista here. That is a big problem. BLG have been slow on the roam. Teleport's coming up. BLG, this has been a little bit lazy from them. You should be fighting around your Callista more. They have managed to corral him in. There's another teleport, and now they're outnumbered.
Satchel back onto Wave, puts him in a dangerous position. The Spirit Cleaves gets way low, but not down. My god, the damage. In comes that Zonyus to buy some time and space, but will surely fall. Plants get one back, though. Way bailed out, will not get put back to life, but the Plants get the work anyway. In the picture-in-picture, look at the Gnar. He's on an inhibitor turret.
And Elk comes to play. Finally turns up, and BLG slaughtered through the top side. It was a little bit sloppy at the start on dying easily outside of that cholesterol range, and BLG not quite able to bring the numbers to the play, but Bin, as he said, has been completely happy to go towards this bot lane turret. Inhibitor turret broken at 18 minutes. I don't think we're on track for the fastest game of LPL this year, but it's still going to be damn fast all the same. Knight's on the bottom side, they should know about that. Bin's going to walk towards his solo later, which means that Xiao, who can't really look for the angle he wanted, he's still not a known quantity here though by BLG, should still be enough.
Yeah, and Crisp will walk into his own jungle. There's Soul Point available for BLG to come and claim. We'll get to that one. They are so far ahead of BLG. What is that? 9,000, nearly 10,000 gold. It's
so it's
quite a lot.
It's a bit much. Elk now has 2 items, which is more. Almost at that 3, almost at that. I guess it'll be a Bloodthirster, I guess, with the BF sword there.
Imagine.
Could potentially be that going through, which means that he's going to be so hard to kill. Weibo, I think that they've gotten a little bit more out of this mid-game than I thought they had in your right getting. I think BLG was slow on the roam. I think they were a little bit slow towards that top side. So one moment of sloppiness there from BLG. It's not been a perfect game, but still, make no mistake, they are very much in the driving seat. And wherever Elk is on the map, you expect that to be a huge victory. Elk, in fact, of course, now sticking around, waiting for that cholesterol to come back. Ultimate allows On to play so much more aggressively in a way which On, of course, forgot about in the top river.
Tarzan has at least got a second item. The Ryalize might be valuable here in mitigating the Callista insane lead. We know that slows are one of the more powerful options as Zyra has summoned the Herald in top lane, didn't get to use it before she died the last time around. On. A little bit afraid is okay.
And also, worth noting, he went for the Zhonya second instead of the Ryalize. As Zyra, very typically you do see that Leandri's Ryalize like 100% complete in like second item completion. That's always the item combo that you see. But I think in this game, this is valuable. This is fine because you are not having trouble sticking to targets. What you do need to make sure is that you can maybe press Zhonya's when the Brand Out flies at you. It means that it won't bounce off again, or you won't get the passive procced onto you. Also means that it's much harder to dive onto you with the Yone as well. Baron has now spawned away of course, a Zyra. So now Weibo have the harrowing task of saying, okay, we've got to defend against the Herald. We also have to defend against the Baron. Passive onto On, he should still be fine. So he's going to take down to half HP, but not dead.
The Fate Seal turns it around and shows to flash away as Knight was waiting for the return to sender.
And Bin is still in bot side. The Herald just also crashed into top side turret as well. Wei has got the passive seeds put down, so Weibo, they'd like to disrupt them. Spums up the plants, which aren't going to do that much. Bin is now going to recall, potentially put himself into a teleport position, which could end the game. I think we say goodbye to our earliest game potential, 2150. I don't think it's going to end in the next minute, sadly, but BLG, a dominant game all the same. BLG looking to try and turn the screws home.
Okay, Wei, still in the river, still clearing out as much vision as he can again. Starting jungler today, stepping in for sure, and again, this is a whole thing to keep our eyes on. This is the first series where he has been the starter, hasn't been subbed in as he was in the last series, which he was called upon having had a game 1 loss that went against BLG. Crisp chunked out there as the Q takes him for about
By the
20%
way,
HP.
Syra's not actually that burstier champion.
No.
If you are losing 25% of your HP to a single cube, y'all got problems, folks. Y'all got some issues. Now, suddenly, you see Weibo, again, struggling to get that vision control on top side. Xiaohu misses the Q through at Elk and therefore loses almost all of his HP. If he hits that knocker, potentially could have been something more with Crisp with the flash follow-up, but it's not to be. I will say, I don't think I like the way that BLG have been playing around the Callista in the mid-game. Has kind of waltzed their way into plays rather than in the center of it. Now the Baron has been started. Elk will come over to this as well. Weibo forced to respond, but what response do they have? Bin is taking inhibitor. The Baron's going down. If they don't get there in time, Bin will take the inhibitor, and then he'll also have Baron opinions.
He's at Mega. He could look to come on in here. There's the Baron going down before a contest can come in. They're trying to reset the back of the pit. Flash on out from the Ziggs ultimate Mega Inferno.
They're teleporting to end!
And on is here with Xiao, who one-shot, trying to one-shot it, but yeah, they're teleporting in. What is happening? On goes down, but the rest of the base is in danger. They hold on, but a Nexus turret falls, and BLG, Bin does that. Takes the inhibitor, they're going to roll through mid lane, and they did that in a 4v5, by the by.
Bin's just teleported towards topside as well to keep the pressure going. Yone hasn't managed to get himself a recall, so Xiaohu has been caught well out of sorts. I don't really think this game's been his fault. He's kind of been, oh no, he's not going to be able to get cancelled, luckily, but that's the teleport gone, and BLG now know there's no teleport on him, so they can play the map exactly how they want. There's a Baron buffed up, Nara on this topside who has a level advantage on Breathe. Remember, folks, the early game was bot lane for BLG was pressured, top lane for Weibo. How's that worked out for you? This Renekton against the Bin has not worked out. Against the Bin has not worked out how they wanted. An extended play around this Baron. Yeah, you blow a lot of flashes, that's something, but, you know, to try and chase down the Renata like this is just not what you wanted. And now, of course, Xiaohu doesn't have his summoners and his ults, and he goes down.
Just gets that kill, but now he died somewhere off screen despite teleporting back. Don't quite know what happened there in the picture-in-picture, but is dead again somehow, some way. Now they're down that additional member as the base is already partly broken. Some remaining turrets for the side of Weibo Gaming, but it has been a disastrous game, all things said and done. Oh my days.
Now we even get some rock thrown in by Bin as well. It's another turret down. BLG, they're going to back off to get themselves Ocean Souls. So it's not going to be the end of the game with this Baron buff, but they've already broken the base, so it's not like they can't threaten a game-ending fight at some point too. I would hate to see this game go to another Baron. Come on, I mean, in some ways, this game now is about me judging how well BLG have played with the lead. Because this game, as soon as they snowballed that bot lane, as soon as Light was out of the game, this game was a foregone conclusion, unless Brand does silly things at some point. The top lane play, the trade of the early game pressure and the early game jungle pathing, it did not work out for Weibo, and I think criticism has to be leveled at both Tarzan and the rest of the team for making that decision, regardless of, we don't know, of course, who makes that call, but that's been a mistake. But BLG, when it came through to beyond getting that early game lead, I will say they haven't been great at forcing plays with the Kalista. I feel like there are times where they could have flashed forward and looked for the game-ending play. Whereas now on the flank, he maybe has gone too far. What is he doing here? He used the Zhonya's. He bought it for a reason.
Here comes on and out. They might have gotten away with it. What he's doing is buying a lot of space. Xiaohu gets an ultimate, but just no damage. The shield's too much. Has got a bailout and stays alive, and an Ocean Soul on top of it all. They went looking, and all they find is death and destruction.
And this is what they can do with this kind of lead. Bin doesn't have Mega, has Flash. Light's going to try and pop that ult. He does, but it's only going to get the Sterix for now. Breathe might even just die here.
Tried to get the kill, could not make it happen. Bin flashes on out from other damage, and with Ocean Soul on top of it all, and the rest of BLG shoving on for this tier 3 in top lane, this game is looking very lights out. There's not much more that Weibo can do. It's been that way since about minute 2.
BLG, it has been a stomp. The fact that we are judging them based on the strength of their stomp once they got that lead, and not the fact that it has been one in the first place, tells you volumes about this game. BLG, this is the way that they played when they were the best team in the LPL and one of the very best in the world. This is the style which got them largely to MSI Finals. This is how they got there. And yes, they did end up losing to Genji, but an MSI Finals is a hell of an accomplishment all the same. Beating down T1 on their path towards it. BLG, it's been a while since we could talk about them to that sort of degree. Wei buys my favorite item in the game in that meta race, and he's becoming an avid reader, joining the book club. Maybe that's what I should call my channel points instead. Just the book. I don't know, like book points. No, not that. Look, we'll workshop it all the same. And for now, they will stay as Ari Simp books instead. But BLG get themselves to huge items. The game realistically could have ended by this point. I wonder if they could have forced it harder, but they're playing it by the book, not taking any chances, but still finding themselves aggressive plays.
Does seem to be the plan right now, and they are still into his Ziggs, right, who is at this point, able to wave clear quite well. Teleport behind. They're going for last gas. They want to catch out Knight.
Yeah, they do. He has flash. There's a teleport for him. There's a teleport for Bin as well if he wants to teleport in. Breathe, you're 2 levels down on Corki. That's a big one. That's going to be a bit of a pain in itself. He must have flash out of the stun. Doesn't manage to. Knight will go down. Misplays there.
Does he? There's a teleport from Bin, and they do finally kill Knight, but what happens to the rest of the base? They've lost the Renekton. It's a 1-for-1, all things said and done, and all the while, the super minions absolutely steamrolling through what remains of Weibo's base. They've got one final gas. Xiao, who looks for a fate sealed, but unfortunately the only thing that's been sealed is Weibo's defeat. Game 1 made us hope. Game 2 crushed it, and Game 3 has blown it to smithereens. BLG are still the team to beat.
BLG walk away with a crushing Game 3. Every so often we see this beast come to play yet again. It hasn't been as common in summer as it has in spring, which was another historically dominant split for BLG. 2 back-to-back regular seasons, which broke records here in the LPL. Now with the new format, they didn't really turn it on in that group stage, but they are still the same BLG. Folks, because the second series of today is also starting up, we are going to quickly change over to that one as soon as it is appropriate to do so. We'll let them have them celebrations for now, and then we'll see ourselves through to our second series today, which will be Top Esports versus NIP.
See what happens, and Weibo going to be a bit frustrated. Basically, we saw what happened. Whatever team didn't have a successful early game fell apart, which is what you want to see if you are a Weibo Gaming fan. There was some good stuff in there, and you know, even in that Game 3, saying, look, we've drafted the Rel and the Ziggs, the plan is they survive, we'll play towards top lane. That was a risk, and the risk paid off horribly. It went so wrong. They all inned, and they lost all their money, and the casino of BLG said, well, the house always bloody wins.
Folks,